I was really excited that the public library had Lego Harry Potter Characters of the Magical World, because when I got back into Legos, the Harry Potter series had just ended, and they still had these books at Barnes & Noble and at the time Borders, but I never picked it up, and I kind of wanted to because of the collectible minifigure it came with, but you know, when you look it up, it's like, all right, that's a lot of money to spend for just a minifigure, so I never got it. So I was very excited to see the library had it, and I could finally read through it and kind of learn about the different characters and minifigures that they created for the Harry Potter theme before we got Wizarding World today. And of course, you know, this is a library book, so whoever owned it took out their collectible minifigure, and I'm actually really impressed. Usually these things are like just torn up, but they did a really good job of removing it without destroying the book, which I think is kind of cool. And the other thing you'll notice is that this is a little bit thicker here. The front cover's thicker because you had to fit a minifigure inside of it. But once we get past that, we're going to get our normal typical book pages, and we've got our title page. And as we get to the table of contents, you're going to notice that it's not set out you know, in like alphabetical order or the year that was released, the set's released. It's based on the movie or books, however you witnessed Harry Potter. For me, I read them, watched the movie, read them, watched the movie more times than I care to admit, but it was a few times, more than 2 or 10. Anyway, so let's go past the table of contents, and here we have an introduction. It talks about how this book is set up and how they do it by, it's released by the order in which the sets came based on the movie. So we're going to have the Sorcerer's Stone sets first, and then the Chamber of Secrets, and so on. And it also talks about how, like, the variants, like they're going to show the different variants based on which one was released most recently or first, and then that's how the variants work. And it's kind of funny because the cover here, we have this trolley set, and this was actually the very first Lego Harry Potter set I ever got from GameStop as a free giveaway with purchase of the video game. And so I actually got this before I got back into Legos, so that was kind of cool to have that in my collection. Now we have the unique elements. So before we get into the minifigures, it's going to talk about those different parts and pieces that the characters have. We have some unique heads that were made for this series, and I like this shark head. It's kind of silly looking, especially now we've had some collectible minifigure shark heads with Orca and the blue shark guy. Hats, how, you know, even though the witch's hat's nothing new, the minifigures, the Harry Potter series came with a lot of unique colors. We have the different types of capes, hair pieces, and even bottoms. They're not all, you know, your typical legs. You've got mermaids, you've got the Dementor piece, which they're kind of proud of, you got the peg legs and the dress pieces, so it's not just your typical minifigure legs that we deal with. And here we are, the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and as it starts out, we have just kind of all the sets listed that dealt with the very first book or movie. So we'll go on here, and of course you have Harry Potter, and this is kind of fun because I've never seen that wand, and that's kind of like one of the first wands they did where they give a little translucent piece on top to look like it was actually doing magic, and I thought that was really cool. And here we kind of see the yellow-skinned Harry Potter, and then when this another variation, the same outfit, we have the skin tone down here. So you've got the original and then the skin tone variant. You've got Rubus Hagrid. They kind of give some facts about how his arms can move, but his legs do not. We've got the different variants here. And then we've got the Gringotts goblins, and it's the faces are pretty horrific. Lego has come a long way with these molds, but this single color plastic, they look pretty bad, but they kind of look more like those troll dolls from the 70s or 80s that now they're making movies about. But you do have this really cool printed piece with the galleons printed on it. You can kind of see the set they come in over here. And this is kind of fun. We've got the uniform page. So you see like kind of how the uniforms of the Gryffindor, Slytherin, and the other houses have evolved from having the crest to no crest, putting the crest back, and just the detail, how it got a little better each time they remade it. And I think that's really cool to kind of have them laid out. And what's interesting is, like, you know, even this is like Harry Potter, Hermione, Ron all have the same shirts if they're in uniform. So it's the same exact torso piece. Hermione Granger, honestly, when I first started flipping through this book, I thought this was an old woman. Like, you know, this didn't look like a kid. Maybe it's that blue sweater they gave her, but to me it looked more like Ron's mom than Hermione. But it is Hermione. Over here we have the different kind of colored wands that would be in Ollivander's wand shop. We have an early version of Ron Weasley with that kind of that like smirky smile he has. He's a little bit geek, you know, it's all good. I like it. We got Harry Potter's the Gryffindor Wizard's sorting hat, And over here, you can kind of see how this one's printed, and they talk about how they different variants. Like one's more like got the mold of the face on it. And we have another Hermione Granger. I think she's looking a little younger here, and it's probably because of the school uniform, but definitely that yellow skin, I think, ages them. It doesn't really help give that youthful look that these newer minifigures have. And then we've got Dumbledore over here, and what I appreciate is Dumbledore has that big old long beard, and they give us a shot here of what that torso piece looks like without the beard. I think that's really good of them. They got more Harry Potter stuff, and they've kind of different capes. You got this black, you got a purple cape. You got Ron Weasley again with a different uniform. You see he's got the more detailed in his face, and they talk about the you got the fat lady and how when they did this set and the minifigures were still yellow skinned, they made her yellow skinned as well. So that's really kind of cool, little detail. And then we have Professor Snape, who actually originally had glow in the dark heads and hand pieces. So I don't know why they made it glow in the dark, maybe because they wanted to make them a little more pasty and pale, but they used glow in the dark, which I found a cool little trivia thing. And then this is interesting, Professor Quirrell. Now, he is the very first minifigure to have a dual-sided head. So you've got Professor Quirrell over here, and then of course, hope you haven't seen the movie or books yet, but Voldemort's face on the back end. So you got this big old turban, and it kind of gives you both faces. It's the very first minifigure to have the double-sided printing, and it's so common that, you know, it's kind of cool to see that Harry Potter was the very first thing to introduce that. Of course, you have Draco Malfoy. We finally have some of the villains that Harry must encounter at Hogwarts, and Peeves, the pesky poltergeist, and this is kind of interesting because it's like grayish minifigure, almost looks more like a statue, while today we've got more of that translucent plastic, so that's kind of cool. Like, just you see that evolution in the ghosts, and I definitely like the newer ones. And then you have here where it's not really a minifigure or character, I should say. It's a character, but it's more of like a prop piece where you decorate the hallways with these knights. So here you've got a knight prop piece, but it is a minifigure, so it's included in this book. Then you've got a troll, which isn't technically a minifigure, it's a big character, but as we get in this book, you're going to see it's not all about minifigures, it's about the characters. And interesting, like only one arm of this thing moved. A lot of special things were put into this. Like, this is a very unique thing. It's not something, you know, you're going to see switched out with different characters in Harry Potter. Like, even like most of our big characters today, like the Hulk, you know, Hulk, Thanos, they're all very similar. This is a very unique thing we're just not going to see a lot of. And then Fluffy, and the did you know facts. There's lots of those little did you know facts. This figure is actually twice as tall as a minifigure, which I think is great because if you read the book, seen the movie, you know how big Fluffy is. So that's great. This is twice as big as the minifigures, and these jaws move. And here we're talking about things that aren't really characters, but it is a minifigure, and so the chess pieces were included in this book. So I thought it was kind of fun. And we're moving on to the Chamber of Secrets, and actually it's kind of funny because as the chapters go on, they get shorter and shorter because so many things have already happened. Like, you already have a Hogwarts, so you don't put it in the next thing unless it's like a special room. Here we get the Dursleys for the first time. So this is Vernon Dursley, and he's the only Dursley to get a minifigure, which is fine with me. I mean, maybe we could have used his cousin, because he was a little integral to some things happening in the Prisoner of Azkaban with the Dementors. More Harry Potter and Dobby. You can see how Dobby kind of evolved. He had that really weird, like the Gringotts trolls, just no detail whatsoever, just kind of like this ugly lump of plastic. And now you get just some printing. They color in the eyes, and all of a sudden it just brings it to life. And there's some shading in there. It just makes it look so much better than just a single skin tone color. We got Lucius Malfoy, and he's got these kind of like grimacing cheeks, so he looks like he's scowling with those little lines on the side. And Draco Malfoy as well, kind of frowning and not happy. Ginny Weasley. And then Madame Hooch. I love Madame Hooch's eyes. Those are so cool. And then the goggles. Of course, you have the variant down there. Harry Potter. Now we're getting kind of the Quidditch, because the Quidditch sets were based more on here. Where Harry becomes a Quidditch player, but you see him in his uniform. You got Draco's uniform. You kind of see these older variants of Draco. Marcus Flint, I love that they have a big old gap in his tooth. That was a very big character trait. Got Oliver Wood, the goalkeeper. And then the owls. And now currently I have this owl and that owl, but these are all designs that I don't have, so it's kind of cool to see them. Then you got a Mandrake, and we have a new Mandrake piece with the Neville CMF Series 1 figure, so that's kind of cool to see an older looking Mandrake. Got Professor Lockhart, loved his character, so hilarious. And they got Crabbe, Greg Goyle and Vincent Crabbe, so Crabbe and Goyle's character. And the thing is, you didn't actually get a Crabbe and Goyle minifigure. What you got was Ron and Harry using the Polyjuice potion to pretend to be Crabbe and Goyle. So one side is them, but if you turn it on, the other side of their heads is actually Harry Potter in halfway transformation and Ron halfway through his transformation. So I thought it was kind of fun. You don't get these characters, but you do because of the transformation scene. Then you got Aragog, and you see the different things because Aragog's been released in a couple sets. You do see these different designs. You got this flat black one, and then this one that's a little more thicker with the brown. And personally, I kind of like this one better. But then, you know, now in the Wizarding world, we got a whole nother one. That one looks amazing. We got Harry Potter's Wizard in the Woods. This is when they go try to find him. Ron's got this little spider piece because we know he wants to follow the butterflies. Professor Lockhart again. Tom Riddle, who we also know as Voldemort, so technically the first Voldemort character. Basilisk, and here's a different one. Like, here's the Basilisk from the Chamber of Secrets, and here it was almost like those the dinosaur characters we have, these older dinosaur characters and those pieces. And then the newer set, we actually build it from bricks. And, you know, I appreciate the building, but I do think this looks nicer than the build they had in the newest set. And then you've got Fawkes, and then a special Gryffindor sword. And I understand there's actually one sorting hat that will fit a Gryffindor sword inside of it. So that's kind of cool. All right, Harry, the Prisoner of Azkaban. So we've got Stan Stunpike. And he, fun fact here, is he was one of the first figures to actually be most like purple. Like he's almost completely purple. And this is one of the first figures to do that. And you've got, of course, Ernie Prang, who drives the bus. And one of the buses, they did this twice, one of the buses had this shrunken head printed on the glass, and the other one had it actually as like a little round brick piece. So you can't get that round brick piece as a character. You got your Dementors, which have gone through some transformations over the years. You got Professor Lupin, and they put time to put these scratch marks on his face and a very light mustache and fun little accessory, a piece of chocolate for when Harry gets in trouble with the Dementor. You got Harry Potter's boy wizard, Ron Weasley. Neville Longbottom, I guess kind of got his two front teeth there. And then we have the Bogart Snape, when Neville, you know, turns the Bogart into Snape in his grandmother's outfit. And this would actually be the last time they use the translucent face and hands for Snape, and they changed it to just, a normal skin tone after that. So we got more Harry Potter, the Martyr's Map statue, so that's part of a set with the statue they go behind. You've got snakes, frogs, and dragon pieces. Then you got Hermione Granger. Still kind of looks like an older lady, but, you know, she has the time piece in here. So this is when she uses it to go back in time to save I'm drawing a blank on his name because I can't remember Harry's uncle's name. Severus Snape. Okay, no. Oh my goodness. Blank when you do these things live. You got Professor Trelawney. Here's that purple hat. Only character to have this hat. And then Sirius Black. Can't believe I blanked on Sirius Black's name. Oh well. But here's Sirius Black in his prison outfit. And I love this. His variant is the dog that he turns into, so that's hilarious. I love the fact that the variant is the dog. Then we have the Buckbeak, and the Buckbeak creature piece has definitely evolved since back here. I really love the newer Buckbeak. This almost looks like a gargoyle to me. And then we got the Goblet of Fire, and you can see how these chapters are getting a little smaller. Here we've got Professor Karkaroff and Victor Crumb, and these hats are actually from the Indiana Jones series. They just put them on there. Let's see, we got Harry Potter's Tri-Wizard Champion outfit. He's got a lot of these, and you can see with this one, there's like lots of rips and tears from when he tackles the Hungarian Horntail for his trial. A little claw mark there, that's kind of cool. We got Professor Dumbledore again. You have that long beard, but once again, they still show us the piece underneath it. You got Mad-Eye Moody, and Mad-Eye Moody, I mean, this, I think, really shows like just how great this printing has gone, because this is a very bland face compared to what we have with the CMF series that came out just a few years ago. Harry Potter and his swimming task. You see the little gills on the side of his face. And then here's Victor Crumb with that shark head, which just looks ridiculous. But hey, he looked ridiculous in it. So I'm glad they did that. It actually really works. And then we got Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger when they were asleep and they were at the task being held by the mer people. So you have their sleeping face with the closed eyes and then kind of this groggy look of Ron as he wakes up. And then she's groggy, but still has that knowing smile of, I knew we weren't in danger, silly. And you got the Yule Ball, and now this book came with a collectible minifigure exclusive to it, and this Yule Ball Harry Potter came with another book that was about the sets. This one's about the characters. This one came with a book about the sets, and I was actually able to pick this up on Bricklink, so I do have this one, which is kind of nice. We got the mer person, and I really like that fish face they use for the mer person. It's kind of cool. And then the skeletons, and this is an interesting fact I didn't know, but I want to share, is like the first skeleton minifigures had ball joints, so you kind of had bigger movement and round movements with their arm sockets, and now they just are attached kind of like minifigures where they go up and down, so they don't have the movement. But I thought that fact, I didn't know that the skeletons had ball joints. I thought it was an interesting fact. And we've got Harry Potter, the Dueling Wizard, the Death Eater, Malfoy, but you see the little mask here for Malfoy's dad. And you got Peter Pettigrew with his little mouth because he was a rat for so long. And you also have this little figure where it's a standing, sitting rat as opposed to the one that's just kind of on all fours. Voldemort with our glow-in-the-dark head and nose. I saw this great meme about Legos, and it's like, isn't it interesting? While most minifigures don't have noses, the one character who doesn't have a nose, Voldemort, gets a nose printing. Thought that was kind of a fun little observation. Now we've got the Order of the Phoenix. And we've got Luna Lovegood. And I was actually kind of sad to see this one because this is so similar to the Collector minifigure one that I was like, oh, I thought they did something really different with that minifigure, but they really didn't. They just kind of like improved upon what they already created. So I would have loved to see something completely different for the collectible minifigures. And here's a Thestral, and once again we've seen other Thestrals. They got one with the Grindelwald Escape set, and I think that one looks so much better. Like this one looks more like it's got the skeleton look, but it almost looks like a robot or a machine more than a skeleton to me. So I like the upgrade they've done. You've got Draco Malfoy, Professor Snape, with his normal skin, no translucent anymore, or glow in the dark. You got that real skin tone. Professor McGonagall, and again, she's the only wizard to have this green hat, so if you want a green wizarding hat, you have to have McGonagall. You got Professor Umbridge with her little cat plate tiles. And then we've got our creature pieces, and here's interesting. I think we'll recognize most of these: spiders, fish, scorpions, pigs, but the jellyfish was actually created using a chef's hat. So this is just the chef hat with a translucent blue plastic. So I thought it was cool. They used a chef's hat that they already had and just use a different type of plastic, the translucent blue, to make it something completely new. I thought that was interesting. Got Professor Flitwick, Argus Filch with that little cat. Harry, the army leader, Death Eaters. Now this one, rather than having a printed mask, you see the whole head is a mask, which I think has a really cool effect. You got Ron Weasley, Harry Potter and his invisibility cloak. And I think that was really good. It really does cover the figure. Now we're on to Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. And we just get more Harrys and Ginny Weasley. And notice the sweater because we're going to see it again. Here's Molly Weasley. I love this outfit. This torso and leg piece they gave her is so fantastic. We have Arthur. And then here we're talking about, how Professor Quirrell was the first minifigure to get double-sided heads, and now we definitely see that being used more prominently with almost all the figures these days. See these different facial expressions, and that was done to give more playability to people so they can have, kind of confused and smarky, happy, scared, angry, all these different expressions. So that's kind of cool. And you got Bellatrix Lestrange, Fenrir Greyback, Hermione Granger, Ron Weasley. Hermione Granger, same sweater as Ginny. And Fred and George. And this is I thought kind of sad. They actually don't have a Fred and George minifigure. Fred and George are the same minifigure, so you just got one minifigure. And I was like, oh, well, I think they could have at least given us two of them, but that's just all this gives one minifigure. And then I talked about that exclusive minifigure in this book. This was it. And oddly enough, library books, they're very well used. And this page was ripped out. So the one minifigure we get with this book is also the page that is ripped out. But this is what the minifigure in the book would look like. Now we're on to the Deathly Hallows. And again, I told you these things just really move quick once you kind of go through them. As you get the later chapters, you got Lucius Malfoy, Mr. Ollivander, Professor Sprout. She's got this really great outfit. I love that detail in the torso piece. You got Neville with the gap tooth again. And then you got accessories. And one thing I love about the Harry Potter series is all these printed tile pieces and other different, you got newspapers and envelopes and magic spell books. Just so many great printed pieces in this series. Greg Goyle, not in disguise. This is actually Greg Goyle. Professor Lupin. Just the scratches look a little more realistic instead of just lines across the face. And we've got Narcissus Malfoy, which she doesn't get a mini. I'm actually glad they gave her a minifigure because she's a smaller character you probably would forget about. Voldemort, again, we have that little nose there, and they gave him those teeth for that smile. That's really cool. And then we're to the index. So I'm really glad I found this at the local library. It's a fun little read, especially if you're into Harry Potter. And it's kind of fun, especially now, to see this book because we have the Wizarding World. And so many of these characters have been redone. You kind of see that progression of how well the printing has evolved and the head molds have evolved. So it's great to kind of see that history. So this is a great book to do that because we had Harry Potter theme originally, and now with Fantastic Beasts, they've increased it to the Wizarding World.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe or check out some of our other videos. Until next time, let's keep building together.